first years I lived in the United States, I wasn't homesick for the Philippines at all. I thought of Manila fondly, as one remembers an old boyfriend who was fun while it lasted, but not someone one would want to commit to. One morning, however, I was awakened by an awful, fat sobbing in the heart. A terrible longing to be home, where the night air was warm and kind, the faces around me brown and friendly, and the cadence of conversation soft and teasing. Suddenly, I felt like an alien in this land of white faces, large bodies, and strong language. I suppose that my unease with the US had been quietly growing as I moved away from my break with Manila. When I left in 1977, I was unhappy over many things. For one, the paralyzing feeling that I could never get ahead financially, never save enough to make a better life for myself. Then there was martial law, which devastated my choices as a writer. Tangled web of family commitments, and the smallest of Manila that forced me to make my mistakes in a glass bowl slowed me down, I thought. And lastly, the cynicism with which my family and friends turned to me and yawned. But that's the way men are. When I discovered my beloved had lied to me, and unfaithful in hundreds of ways, infuriated me. So I took my fury to clean, precise, and anonymous America, and reveled in the contrast. With some $700 in saving, and a family to stay with, the US opened up to me. It took me over 3 months to find a job, partly because I was being picky. Job hunting is never a joy, but it was doubly depressing to be constantly asked, "What kind of legal experience do you have?" A classic catch-22 situation. I was also stung when prospective employers congratulated me on my excellent English, unlike many Filipinos. Others said I was too soft, not pushy enough. Me, who had been chastised for being too blunt in Manila. That sensitivity was one of the first Asian traits I had to let go of. I had to learn not to take things personally, even when I was being addressed. A strange and very Western concept. Mostly, it's the tone of the timing that throws me off and other Filipinos I've discussed this with. As a whole, US culture just doesn't have the time to concern itself with saving face or propriety of manner. The important thing is efficiency, getting the job done. I cringe for the demure Filipinos in line at the butcher shop who request their choices and are told, "Speak up, I can't hear you." Fortunately, Asian manners are influencing America. What with Japan's and Korea's increasing importance in international business, business people are having to learn the mores of different cultures. The other trait essential to discard was modesty, because this culture is much less dependent on ties of family and friendship. There is generally no third person to take the burden of broadcasting one's best qualities. So I had to recognize my pluses, and then unabashedly pull them forth for prospective employers to examine. The good part is the relative absence of status, the worth with the company president, lending a convivial atmosphere to many businesses. I had to learn not to call my supervisors Mr. or Mrs., but Bob or Betty. A last paradox has to do with the dollar and the US standard of living. We tend to make fun of Americans for their insistence of Dutch streets, on paying their share and only their share. I think now that it has to do with what one gives up to maintain the comfortable house, the new car, the clothes, time. The time equals money is truer here than anywhere else. Because if you are willing to put in the hours, you can generally get ahead. Living standards, however, also have to do with the logistics of life without helpers. After putting in 8 hours of work, one can come home to unmade beds, unwashed dishes, uncooked dinners. The problems add up algorithmically when a spouse and children enter the picture. To live this well, then, we sacrifice the hours of our life. Each free hour becomes more precious, and many US families withdraw into a kind of nuclear family cocoon. I find few American men and women who are willing to go into the time-consuming nurturing of extramarital friendships. Their spouses are the best friends, and that seemed to be all the friendship they can afford. Perhaps I've idealized Manila, but seem to recall a broader array of friendships there. After 8 years in the United States, I feel more of a nation than ever. But I am grateful to have the choice to live in this society. It has helped me clarify what is important in life, just as one needs to grow away from one's parents to appreciate them as people. I had to distance myself away from Manila to learn to love both of her perfumes and her odors, her breezes and her decay, her cloying smallness and her affectionate pampering of her children. Perhaps we're the new breed of internationalists, those who can survive and prosper in a variety of cultures. Take the best of each and disregard the rest. And as Filipinos, as descendants of a multitude of conquerors and traders and passerby, we're uniquely qualified to be less inbred than most of the Far East.